The origin of ideas. Every idea tends to undergo transformation into reality. It's Bowden, page 41. So when you think of taking a deep breath, the body invariably follows and takes a deep breath. Try it now. Think of taking a deep breath. What happened? Did you take a deep breath? The origin of the idea came from outside of yourself or from inside. It could be something you heard on the radio. For example, a news report states there will be an economic recession. If your unconscious mind accepts the idea, then your subsequent thoughts may be coloured by thoughts of a loss of income. Then wherever you look, you see examples that validate your belief that the world economy is now in a depression. You may soon find yourself short of money, and so on. Yet another person may hear the same news report and take the information as an opportunity to invest in the property market. Subsequently, this person could become very wealthy. What is the difference? Each person took a piece of information from the outside world and made a suggestion to their own unconscious mind, forming an opinion on the topic. Yet too often the opinion is formulated based upon insufficient information. It is a well-known fact that by repeating tales to themselves and to others, people come to believe what they say and are duped by their own falsehoods. Bowden, page 46. And yet sometimes too much information can cause stagnation. Perhaps you only need just enough information to be able to attain your outcomes. An idea can also originate from within yourself. If, for example, you get caught in a rainstorm and get soaking wet, then the idea might arise that you could get sick. On the other hand, if you spend a day relaxing on a sun-drenched tropical beach, then the feeling that arises may be one of vibrant health and well-being. If you are unwell, then negative thoughts may arise in the mind. For example, John has ridden a push bike for many years, but now when he thinks of going for a ride, negative imagery comes into mind. He sees himself struggling to ride the bike properly and sees an image of himself lying beside a fallen bike. But this does not seem to make rational sense. The body may be a little unwell, the mind tired, the eyes not so good, so it would make sense to take due care. But what is really causing the negative imagery? Is it a communication from the unconscious mind to take care? Is the negative imagery a reaction to being unwell? Is it a symptom of being unwell? Are there underlying limiting beliefs about being able to ride a push bike at this age? I think not. It seems the most likely cause of the negativity to be the poor health of the body. So what is the source of the energy that is driving the negative thoughts? Is it just a result of the body being unwell? If the body is healed through nutrition, will that disappear the negative thoughts? Is it possible to heal the body through nutrition alone? Or are there underlying emotions from past memories that may have impacted the health of the body? How does one identify the root causes that are driving the negativity? If one healed the underlying emotional causes, and even if the body still remained unwell, could the negative thinking disappear as a result of having healed the underlying emotional causes? If John has negative thoughts as a result of an unwell body, could he directionalize the thoughts towards positive by asking of himself, if you were totally happy, healthy and fulfilled, then what thoughts would arise in the mind? If John asked this question of himself while in a relaxed meditative space, how is his unconscious mind going to respond? In fact, the only way his unconscious mind can respond is to create positive thoughts. So, by constantly bringing awareness to the mind, one can keep feeding positive messages back into the unconscious, which should have the effect of generating more positivity. In fact, on going to bed that evening, John discovers that his mind is very quiet. There is an absence of internal dialogue. He sleeps well and wakes up an hour earlier than normal, feeling refreshed. To test the experiment, he thinks of riding his bike and is pleasantly surprised by the imagery. The street is crowded with people riding push bikes, and there are two people supporting him either side of his bike to ensure that he rides safely. The imagery is of support, friendliness, compassion, fun, prosperity, happiness, and well-being. In addition, whereas previously when he thought of his Commodore motor vehicle, the images were of car accidents, hence fear of loss, he is now surprised to find an image of a shiny late model BMW with a beautiful woman in the passenger seat. So we can say with some degree of confidence that by communicating with the unconscious mind in a targeted and specific manner, you can influence both health of mind and body within a short time frame. Let's look at that question again. If you were totally happy, healthy and fulfilled, what thoughts would arise in the mind? As you can see, it presupposes happiness, health and fulfillment. And is it not true that happiness begets happiness? That when you're in love, you attract more prospective mates? That those people who have money attract more money? And when you are fit and healthy, you naturally find yourself involved in a healthy lifestyle. If you wanted to directionalize your brain-mind to achieve success in specific areas of your life, you could experiment with the following. Note that you can play with first person I or second person you, though it is suggested that you start with second person you. Negativity. If all the negativity was to disappear from my life, then what thoughts would come to mind? Health. If the symptomology was to totally disappear, then what would be my experience? Sport. If you were totally fit and totally healthy, if your mind and body worked in absolute unison, if you already had an Olympic gold medal under your belt, then what thoughts would arise in the mind? Relationships. If you felt totally loved and totally loving, if you felt like the most beautiful person who has ever walked on the face of the earth, then what thoughts would arise in your mind? Money. If every day you had a sum of money, for example, $100, $200, $500, $1,000, deposited to your personal bank account, indexed against inflation for the rest of your life, then what thoughts would arise in your mind? Business. If you could be in a business with a group of like-minded people in which you all shared your skills, knowledge and resources to make each other wealthy while having heaps of meaningful fun, then what thoughts would arise in the mind? In the examples above, you're not setting specific goals. Instead, you are posing questions to the unconscious mind that presuppose the realization of a desired outcome. To achieve that outcome, you need to nurture the frames of mind that will bring your future self into reality. Ask questions like, what is the environment in which you will flourish? What would that environment look like, sound like, and feel like? Who do you need to be to work and play in that environment? What qualities and attributes of character do you need to demonstrate? What are the questions that you need to pose to the unconscious mind such that the unconscious mind can present back to the conscious mind thoughts that serve you in achieving your desired outcomes? The origin of ideas continued. As previously discussed, it is easier to be positive when you are feeling good, whether feeling good is a result of health of body, love and harmony in a relationship, or success in some area of life. When one is feeling down as a result of poor health, from disharmony in a relationship or failure in a business venture, then the negative state may feel negative thinking. Sometimes your state will arise from what you eat and drink. If, for example, you ate heavy food before retiring to bed, then the laboured digestive process may influence your dreaming and become a nightmare, which could leave you with the feeling on awakening that something bad is going to happen. This feeling could affect your day. If you have a bad day, then this could affect the next, and so on. Existing ideas may colour a sensation so that it fits your preconceived ideas. For example, a meditator fasting in solitude for 30 days in a dark cave may have profound spiritual experiences. Yet an earthquake survivor, trapped in the basement of a collapsed high-rise building for one day, could find the experience traumatic. The body sensations of hunger and light deprivation may have been identical, yet the context being different brings with it entirely different interpretations and meaning. Another example. You decide to fast for 3 days, and during this time you don't feel hungry and manage to carry on your normal routine. On another occasion, you miss a single meal and complain bitterly about the loss of energy. In the first instance, the hunger may be interpreted as a healthy sign of detoxification, or the auto-suggestion at the beginning of the fast may have been that you won't feel hungry. In the second, the hunger may be interpreted as a matter of deprivation or survival. The idea of a sensation of pleasure or pain, the idea of a feeling, tends to become this pleasure, this pain, or this feeling. Bowden, page 56. For example, you listen to someone relate a painful memory and your body posture changes in such a way as to generate a negative feeling in your body. On the other hand, you listen to someone relate a happy memory and soon you find yourself sharing in the happiness with them. Bowden gives the example of a man who, upon waking in the morning and seeing the sun, felt cheerful and warm and dressed lightly for the day. However, a while later, upon seeing snow upon the ground and checking a thermometer, he began to shiver, and no matter how much he rubbed himself, he could not seem to get warm. Thus, the sun had even sufficed to arouse the idea of warmth, and had even sufficed to arouse the sensation of warmth, or at least to neutralize the sensation of cold. But the sight of the snow, in conjunction with the reading of the thermometer, aroused the idea of cold, and the sensation of cold promptly ensued. Bowden, page 58. If the weather has turned a little chilly and you say to yourself, "It is freezing outside," then the unconscious mind may build an image in your mind of the outside world being frozen. Remember, the unconscious mind tends to take your thoughts literally. It does not understand what you mean, only what you say. On the other hand, if the weather has turned warm and you say, "It is going to be a boiling hot day," then the unconscious mind has to create some internal representation to match what you said. The practice of exaggeration may not work in your favour in these cases. If the weather has turned cold, then rather than suggest to yourself more coldness, it would make sense to suggest that you keep yourself warm. On the topic of your perception of cold and heat, Bowden suggests that when you rug yourself up from the cold, not only does the clothing hamper the circulation, but it arouses the idea that cold is an enemy to protect from. He suggests that the movements we make when we shrivel up or curl up from cold, the movements we make when we chatter, being intimately associated with the sensation of cold, prolonging and expressing that sensation, arouse it and tend to suggest it, or to amplify it by suggestion if it already exists. And further, a large part of the emotion we feel is caused by suggestions of this character. So once you begin to feel the emotion, then the sensations of that emotion and the physical posture that accompanies it tend to suggest the emotion. Hence it amplifies itself in a feedback loop. So is it possible that advertisements for health products might have an adverse effect upon the health of those who pay attention to them? For example, at the onset of winter, the pharmaceutical industry run graphic advertisements about the need for vaccinations to ward off the impending flu season. Does this support the health of the consumer or the medical industry? Who knows how many people suffer influenza symptoms just as a result of accepting the suggestions from an advertisement? Would it not be prudent to avoid such advertising at all, and instead arm yourself with a strong critical faculty that keeps information out there until you have had time to give it a thorough analysis so that it may be rejected if not found acceptable? Taking the bull by the horns. Regarding the emotions of fear and anger and the sensations of cold, Bowden adds that we should repress the movements characteristic of these negative emotions and should cultivate physical impassibility. In the case of cold, we should adopt an upright and offensive attitude instead of a curled up and defensive or shivery attitude. We should do this directly when we begin to feel and even before we begin to feel cold. That we should repress the movements characteristic of negative emotions and should cultivate physical impassibility seems to be the opposite approach of that given by cathartic therapies, which encourage the client to express their feelings. For example, there are a range of cathartic type therapies that encourage the client to put their body in the posture of a negative state as a means to relive a memory and express the emotions more fully than before. Contrast this with the approach of NLP, which is to step into the physiology of the desired state, thus suggesting to the unconscious mind that this is what we want to occur. And now moving into the field of meditation and examining the attitude that we should repress the movements characteristic of negative emotions and should cultivate physical impassibility. The basic meditation posture is one in which one sits cross-legged on a cushion with the spine held erect. One scans through the body, just noticing if there is any pain, discomfort or tension. If there is, then one does not fight with it, but allows the unconscious mind to find its own way to relax it. However, if one should try too hard to relax any part of the body, then one may fall into the trap of trying to use willpower, in which case the law of reverse effort will express itself and the tension may even increase. So in meditation, one sits still, spine held erect, with the arms and muscles hanging loosely, so that relaxation may ensue in its own way. One watches tension in the body and activity in the mind. One does not fight with the tension or activity, but just allows it to be. If one fights with it, then it is like feeding a stray dog that returns to the doorstep. The more you feed the dog, the more likely it will be to take up residence. If anger should arise in the mind, then one should just notice the thoughts in the mind and the sensations that accompany it in the body. In doing so, the unconscious mind can disengage itself from that pattern and learns that peace and relaxation are the desired results. But is it really possible, or healthy for that matter, for the urban Westerner to repress the movements characteristic of negative emotions and to cultivate physical impassibility? In the case of a rural society where the husband has an argument with his wife at breakfast, who then goes off to work in the fields to chop wood, till the soil and carry water, it may be. These physical activities allow him to naturally cathartic the activity, such that by the time he returns home, his affections for his spouse has returned. Likewise, the wife may have been in the fields collecting food, gossiping with her friends, stoking the kitchen fire, kneading bread, and so on. However, in the 21st century, this lifestyle is rare in the West. A more likely scenario is that the husband has an argument with his wife. He then either drives to work in heavy traffic or sits on a crowded bus or train. At work, he sits at a desk. With any luck, he gets a short walk at lunchtime before returning to the office. On the way home, he drives through a fast food restaurant to buy dinner for the family. In some cases, his emotional state could be worse when he arrives home. To top it off, the evening may be spent in front of a television while the children play computer games. For the urban Westerner, we need an activity like Osho dynamic meditation, in which the meditator is given the opportunity to express their emotions. Let go of everything that needs to be thrown out. Follow your body. Give your body freedom to express whatever is there. Go totally mad, scream, shout, cry, jump, kick, shake, dance, sing, laugh. Throw yourself around. Hold nothing back. Keep your whole body moving. A little acting often helps to get you started. Never allow your mind to interfere with what is happening. Consciously go mad. Be total. That's Osho instructions for stage 2 of Osho dynamic meditation. Active meditations like Osho dynamic meditation provide an opportunity to express negativity in the context of a structured session. In doing so, the meditator develops a meta level of awareness that allows them to relax more easily into a traditional sitting type of meditation. We will discuss meditation in more detail later, but for now, we need to take a look at the way that mantras are used in hypnosis, meditation, and religion.